We've all asked ourselves the same question. When learning how to code, we keep asking ourselves, when is enough? When should I start applying? How do I know enough to get a job in the tech field? If that's a question you've asked yourself, today we're going to get into it. Usually the easiest, softest path into the tech field is by learning the big three: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And with that, you can build basic web pages, basic applications. It's enough that you can do a lot of different things. And that's why a lot of people do it, because the barrier to entry is a lot less. HTML is first, and I feel like you can get a pretty good grasp on HTML in about 2 to 3 weeks. You can have a really good understanding if you're really putting some effort in. It doesn't take a whole lot to learn. There is a lot to it, and you will continually learn new things with HTML, but you can get a basic understanding, a good grasp on it with a few weeks of study, which then will lead you into CSS. And CSS is how you style the website. It's what makes it look like it does. I like to think of it as HTML is the bones of the house. CSS is the furniture and the paint on the walls. With that being said, you can spend a long time learning CSS, like a long time. There is so much that goes into it. I've seen people make almost photorealistic looking photos with just CSS. It is wild, the depth that you can get into it. With that being said, you can get the basics of CSS fairly quickly, kind of get the understanding. Once you understand HTML, CSS is like, okay, how do I grab elements from here and style that? Or where do I want it styled? How do I pick it? IDs, classes, things like that. It can vary on how long it takes to learn that, but I feel like everybody's different. In order to judge how long that could take is a little difficult, but most of the CSS that you do, you just Google it, right? You just Google what you need to do. And if you have a good understanding of how CSS works, how it picks elements and properties and changes those, then Googling it will just get your answer. That's what I do most of the time is, oh, I forgot how to center a div. Let me Google it. And that was just an example, but like you just Google a lot of the things that you need to do. And that's pretty much all of programming anyways. But with CSS, it goes so deep that it can just be its own thing. A web designer and using CSS to do things can get very deep. Don't spend a whole lot of time on it. Just understand how to manipulate elements in HTML, how to use CSS in classes, and definitely learn how to do responsive web design with @medias, making the website do certain things at certain screen sizes, which leads us to JavaScript. JavaScript is next. I like to think of JavaScript as the plumbing and electrical of the house, the page, the website. JavaScript is a programming language, an actual programming language. I like to joke that HTML is a programming language, but you know, it's probably not, but I don't care. It has language in the name. But JavaScript is a real programming language that most of us learn at first. I know for me, it was the first one that I really dove deep into. You can spend a long time learning JavaScript, but there's a few things that you really just need to understand. And document manipulation is a big thing to learn with JavaScript, and how to do loops, work with arrays, understanding data structures, enough that you can build a landing page fairly simple. Maybe it doesn't look the prettiest, but you can do something basic, right? And I feel like that is really the key of when you've learned enough, because if you can build something people can see, networking and building connections is the biggest thing that's going to get us hired when looking for a job in tech. Now, you want to be able to explain arrays and variables, how to do loops, and you want to have a good high level understanding of all of it. But if you can build something that people can see, then okay, now it's time that you should start applying to jobs, because a lot of the jobs and a lot of the projects we're going to work on is a lot of Googling, right? So it starts with getting a high level understanding of what's going on and Googling and asking questions for the rest of it. But the real thing is we got to learn what questions to ask. And I say this because when you don't think you're quite ready to start looking for a job, if you can build something and show it to people and talk about it and kind of walk through how you did it, you know enough to start applying. And I think that's when you should start applying and building your network. Start building your network actually before, from the beginning, start building your network, because a network's probably what's going to get you hired, especially in the current landscape. I know when I think about me breaking into healthcare in the past, like my first job in healthcare came from networking with other people. And then I started building the resume up and it kind of took off from there. And tech is very, very similar to this. Find networks, get in with people, and build from there. So how much is enough? Can you build something? Can you put something on the screen that I can look at and be like, oh, can you explain what variables are, how to do loops? Okay, I think it's time to start applying. We can spend our whole entire lives learning. So I don't know if we ever become to a point where we're like, oh, I feel like I'm ready. You just got to start applying. All right. Make yourself a portfolio website, right? Put something on the screen that makes you happy and proud. I remember some of my first ones, they looked so horrible, but I was so excited that I could do that. And if you can portray that to a hiring manager or to your network, how excited you get when you're making web pages, I think that can get you hired. I think building that network is what we need to do in order to get hired in the tech industry. So when it comes to the question of how much HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is enough, do I have a high level understanding of what a programming language is, data structures, right? Do I understand variables and arrays? Can I build a web page that has a little bit of functionality to it? If the answer is yes, I think it's time to start applying, and start applying now. Start building your network yesterday. You should have already been building your network. Get on LinkedIn, get heavy on building a network, posting, start a YouTube channel, get on X, go to meetups, start building that network now, because you never know when that network is going to help you, or maybe when you can help that network. Because what I found out is while I'm out looking for assistance for things, a lot of times I get to help other people. And that's a real, real blessing right there. That's what fills my heart with joy. Hope that answered the question. Later.